Hi friends, welcome back to Inside Ambition, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Main Report, the weekly news rewind so that you don't get left behind. I'm Remo, and I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to click that notification bell to know every single time we upload a new video. Now, today I'm going to talk about the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. I'm an Asian American, as well as an immigrant from the Philippines. I grew up in the United States and have different experiences than those who are born and raised here and those who came here later in life. And in no way am I here to generalize my experiences. However, I find it incredibly important to speak out against the abuse that my community is facing. This is a serious topic that's deeply important to me, so let's get into it. If you've been paying attention, you may have seen a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. We've seen this for a minute now, ever since the spread of the coronavirus. Racist attackers have targeted Asian Americans, and more often than not, they are attacking the vulnerable and the elderly. Just a few examples. In San Francisco, an elderly Thai man, Vicha Ratanapakdi, was shoved to the pavement, which led to his death. In two separate attacks, two elderly Asian women were assaulted in the New York subway this past week. A Filipino man named Noel Quintana in New York was slashed in the face with a box cutter. His injuries required 100 stitches. And here in Philly last year, we saw an Asian American pregnant mother, Jing Chen, and her 12-year-old daughter were attacked near 13th and Walnut as a woman screamed slurs at her. And she requested not to show her face in interviews in fear of retaliation. These attacks aren't just coincidental. To put into some perspective, the organization Stop Asian American Pacific Islander Hate was launched in response to Asian abuse and received over 2,800 first-hand reports of physical attacks and abuse against Asian Americans during the 2020 pandemic. And this accounted for 47 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. The NYPD reported that hate crimes motivated by anti-Asian sentiment skyrocketed 1,900% in New York City in 2020. Last year was filled with xenophobic rhetoric and racist attacks amidst a global pandemic, a pandemic, mind you, the Asian community did not cause. And some attribute the countrywide rise to xenophobic rhetoric to former President Trump, who often referred to the coronavirus as the China virus, blaming the country's people for the pandemic. Many even say it gave racists permission to act on their prejudice. Regardless, activists have pointed out that racial violence against Asian Americans often goes overlooked because of persistent stereotypes about the community. And in full transparency, there's a common belief that Asian Americans are the model minority. Some of you may know of this, but in summation, the model minority concept is this idea that Asian Americans have class privilege due to high socioeconomic status and a level of education. So, because of this, discrimination to Asians doesn't really happen, and any claims to it happening are illegitimate. This idea, constructed during the civil rights era to stymie racial justice movements, suggests that Asians are more successful than other minorities due to hard work, education, and law-abiding nature, which is alarming from so many different angles. Most of the time, this theory is weaponized against other minority groups. Some will say that the idea of Black failure and Asian success cannot be explained by racism and inequities, and that they are one and the same, therefore invalidating racism, which, by doing so, avoids any responsibility for the damage racism causes in Black communities. So this idea of Asians as the model minority is filled with generalizations about people with diverse backgrounds and experiences and perpetuates that Asians are monolithic, which they are not. All the model minority theory does is incite anti-minority rhetoric and fuel inequality. Overall, Asians as the model minority suggests upward mobility, birthing that myth that Asian Americans don't experience struggle or racial discrimination, which makes it harder for people to believe that Asian Americans are under attack in a time like this. However, many Asian Americans with platforms recognize this and are speaking out and addressing misinformation. Jeremy Lin, former NBA guard who is trying to break back into the league, posted on Facebook to address Asian American racism, giving personal examples of racism that he has faced, including being called coronavirus on the court. He stated in his message, "We are tired of being told that we don't experience racism. We are tired of being told to keep our heads down and not make trouble. We are tired of being invisible." Alongside Lin was Japanese tennis star Naomi Osaka, who talked about the lack of coverage. She said, "The fact that this topic is not very widely covered makes me concerned. I only found videos and information because I was scrolling through my IG feed, and by some algorithm, it appeared." Actor John Cho spoke out last year in a powerful essay about Asian American discrimination amidst the pandemic. He stated, "One moment we are Americans. The next we are all foreigners who brought the virus here. And because the stereotypes may be complementary, i.e. hardworking and good at math, it makes people, including us, think that anti-Asian sentiment is somehow less serious, that it's racism light, that allows us to dismiss the current wave of Asian hate crimes as trivial, isolated, and unimportant." Finally, actress Olivia Munn has also used her platform to amplify the stories of victims and speak out against the abuse. She stated, "To simply exist as a minority in this country is seen as a protest to some. We need help amplifying the outrage. We need help to feel safe in our country. We need help to be safe in our country." But that's them. What can you do to help Asian Americans during this time? First, I encourage you to educate yourself on Asian American history, culture, and apply what you learn to what you're seeing on the news. Second, I encourage you to amplify the Asian American voices that are speaking out. Regardless of the size of your platform, you have one for every single person who follows you, likes your posts, or watches your story. Use it to amplify the voices of Asian activists, artists, and authors. Third, you can also volunteer or donate to organizations like Apex for Youth and Oakland, California Chinatown Coalition's Volunteer Foot Patrol, or really any local groups in or around Philly that you find. Anything helps. Fourth, speak up against violence yourself. Use your influence to help the Asian American community. And friends, as an Asian American and an immigrant to this country, it is deeply heartbreaking and upsetting for me to see this happen to my community. The invalidation of the violence posed against Asian Americans and the invalidation of Asian American experiences, I just can't stand for it. I encourage you to speak out against issues like these and all issues facing minority communities, not limited to one group or time, but always. Do the right thing, dragons. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Main Report. Remember to show kindness and empathy to others this week and pay attention to the world around you. I'll see you next Friday.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the DAC Recap, the show where we recap all things Drexel and Philadelphia sports. I am your host, Luciano Duffy. Be sure to like and subscribe down below. Now, let's jump right into it. The Drexel's women's lacrosse team has continued their winning ways as they picked up 2 more wins last week. On Wednesday, the Dragons took the St. Joseph Hawks to overtime, which they eventually won 13-12. This overtime push was on the back of an 8-3 run for Drexel in the last 30 minutes of play. Colin Grady scored the game-winning goal just 38 seconds into the second overtime period. Carson Harris and Lucy Snydereth pitched in 5 goals apiece in the contest as well. On Saturday, the girls traveled and beat Georgetown 21-9. After a close game in the first half, the Dragons really opened it up in the second half with a 10-0 run. Drexel simply kept the ball on the offensive side most of the game as they outshot the Hoyas 41-25. Carson Harris and Colleen Grady added 7 points apiece, but it was Lucy Schneiderther who led the scoring for the Dragons once again. She was able to find the back of the net 8 times. Schneiderth's play landed her with CAA and IWLCA Player of the Week honors. The Dragons continue their road stretch, with their last stop being at Temple yesterday. On Sunday, they will have their home opener against Villanova. The women's soccer team was able to pick up a win as well as they defeated Villanova 1-0 in overtime. The goal came from a cross from Lauren Curry and a tap-in by redshirt freshman Anna Salvucci. The Dragons outshot the Wildcats 18-8. On Sunday, however, the script was flipped. This time, the Dragons were on the opposite end of a 1-0 matchup. The one goal came early in the second half from a penalty kick. The Dragons return to the pitch tomorrow at noon. They will take on the Wagner Seahawks. On Saturday, they will take on Hofstra at 3. Both games will be home and played at Vitus Field. The men's soccer team suffered their first loss of the season as they were shut out 2-0 against St. Joseph University. The Hawks' first goal came from a penalty kick. Drexel looks to bounce back as they host SJU in their home opener, which occurred yesterday. The men's basketball team wrapped up their season with an 84-78 road victory against James Madison University. Cameron Winter dropped 18 points and dished out 7 assists against the first-seeded Dukes. 4 Dragons hit the 10-point mark, those being Cameron Winter, TJ Bickerstaff, James Butler, and Mate Okris. This was a back-and-forth tight matchup as JMU was able to make it a 2-point game on 3 separate occasions in the second half. But Drexel hung tough and never gave up their lead in the second half. With just 1:07 on the clock, the Dukes made it a 77-75 game. Newcomer Luke House hit a huge 3-pointer to give the Dragons a 5-point cushion that ultimately led to the win. Drexel finishes their COVID-riddled season with a record of 9-7. This was good enough to land them 6th in the CAA. They will take on third-seeded Charleston this weekend in the first round of the CAA tournament. Good luck in the postseason, Dragons. The women's basketball team also wrapped up their season this weekend as they split with JMU. On Saturday, Drexel squeaked by with a 51-48 victory. This win came from the backs of a 17-point comeback for the Dragons. Keshana Washington hit what would be the game-winning layup with 1:11 on the clock. Both Washington and Hannah Nihel combined for 38 of Drexel's 51 total points. In Nihel's 20-point outing, she hit a career-high 5 3-pointers, while Washington had 16 of her 18 points in the second half alone. On Sunday, JMU got the best of Drexel 61-51. Keshana Washington led the Dragons with 16 points. Mariah Leonard contributed 15 points and grabbed 7 rebounds as well. Drexel shot just 29% from the floor and only made 2 of their 12 fourth-quarter field goal attempts. Yikes, those stats are not good. Next for the girls is the CAA tournament, as well as they await seeding and scheduling. The Drexel wrestling team placed 5th in the 2021 EIWA Championship. 6 Dragons earned automatic NCAA bids, while all 10 wrestlers placed at the 2021 Conference Championships. Matt O'Malley, Julian Flores, Luke Nichter, Brian McLaughlin, Eric Barkars, and Parker Kropman all finished high enough to punch their tickets to the NCAA tournament, which will take place from March 18th to March 20th. O'Malley was able to land second on the podium. Nichter was able to add third, while Julian Flores, Brian Laughlin, and Evan Barkars were all able to finish in fourth. Both the men's and women's tennis teams had their matches at Army postponed this weekend. And the field hockey team also had their game postponed. As for the Sixers, they are playing some good basketball heading into the All-Star break. They won 2 of 3 games last week as Joel Embiid continues to show the world why he should be the MVP. Can you tell he got my vote? First, he dropped 23 points with 11 made free throws on Thursday night in a win versus the Mavericks. On Saturday, Embiid scored 42 points and also secured 13 rebounds in a loss against the Cavaliers. Against the Pacers on Monday night, he scored 24 points with 13 rebounds as the Sixers were able to come out with the win. This whole season, Embiid has been playing some of the best ball of his career, which is why he was chosen as a starter in this upcoming NBA All-Star Game. The All-Star Game will take place down in Atlanta on March 7th. Along with Embiid, Ben Simmons was named as an All-Star reserve. Fans and players will have to wait till March 4th before they know who will be playing on which All-Star team. This is because captains LeBron James and Kevin Durant will choose their team backyard football style. At just about the halfway mark of the season, the Sixers sit at 23-12, and they have a slight lead in the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets aren't too far behind, as they are only a half a game back. This Sixers team has a lot of potential as playoffs continue to lie ahead. The Flyers were able to win the week last week as they built a 3-game winning streak. Their first win came from a thriller with the Rangers as they beat them 3-4. It was a back-and-forth, action-packed game filled with lots of goals as well as some great saves. This game could have easily been 10-9. The scoring was balanced by Shane Gostisbehere, Eric Gasnoff, Kevin Hayes, and James Van Riemdijk. Their next 2 wins came against the Sabres as they shut them out twice on their way to back-to-back 3-0 victories. Both Flyers goalies were able to be a brick wall as Elliott picked up the win in the first matchup and Carter Hart played in the second. On Saturday, it was Sean Courier, Shane Gostisbehere, and Scott Lofton who all found the back of the net. On Sunday, it was Sean Courier again. However, this time, he was accompanied by Michael Raffi and Scott Van Riemdijk. It's good to see the Flyer squad back and healthy and on the ice again. It's too bad the NHL made the Flyers play those 2 games understaffed, because I really think they could have won. Coming up for the Flyers, they will play the Penguins in a 3-game road stretch this week. Also, in some very exciting fan news, the Wells Fargo Center will be opening up their stadium to 3,100 fans. Rejoice, Flyers and Sixers fans. We get to get back in the stadium. Now, if anyone wants to, get me some tickets, that'd be great. My birthday just passed, but St. Patrick's Day is coming up and I'm Irish, so we'll figure something out, And that's all for the DAC Recap. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Tune in next week for another recap.
Hey there, Dragons, and welcome back to Drexel Update on Inside Ambition. My name is Eva, and today I'm joined with Erin Shubin, the event coordinator and secretary of NAMI Drexel. Hey, Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about NAMI.
Yes, we're so excited. So before we talk about NAMI, let's introduce yourself, name your major, of just who you are at Drexel.
So I'm a 3rd-year behavioral health counseling major, and so this is applied psychology, so I want to be a counselor.
Awesome. And so into NAMI, what does that stand for?
So it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Okay, great. So what does your organization do, and what are some things that they work to promote?
Yeah, of course. So, as the name suggests, it is a national organization. So, we also have local chapters in Philly that we work with as well. We really stand for advocacy, providing resources for our members, allyship, holistic health, very education based, and specifically community based to break down stigmas surrounding mental health and create a safe place for our members to facilitate these conversations.
Yeah, that's awesome and definitely a relevant topic as college students here. What are some of those mental health stigmas that exist, specifically for college students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely say that for college students, stress is overlooked. People will often say, oh, it's just temporary or you'll get over it. But those can be really real if you don't address your mental health and take time to self care. Those can become increasingly more severe and can manifest into a mental health disorder.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's definitely something I'm starting to see as a freshman in the university. You start to see it in people around you. And definitely, I know some colleges can create a stress culture. So that's something we definitely want to combat. So, how does your organization address these issues and get awareness or talk to people about them?
So within the organization, something that we do is each of our general body meetings are based around a certain topic having to do with mental health. And so that's such an expansive topic. So some of the ones we've had this term are ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, just to name a couple. And what we do is we really give people the information to be competent and break down those stigmas because we all have these biases that we carry around with mental health disorders. And when we're given the opportunity to gain information on it, it can give us a better understanding of how these affect people in their daily life. Something else we've been really doing to be involved on campus is we've been creating partnerships with other orgs. So a few examples are Active Minds. There's a local chapter of NAMI called NAMI Philly. There's the Panhellenic Council, Drexel Beta Community Outreach. And most recently, we are going to get involved with Drexel Urban Growers, which is an organization that is working to be re-recognized to target education on food disparities and sustainability. So we're really looking forward to working with them. This is not an exhaustive list, and we're always looking to partner with new organizations to further education on campus. And we truly believe at NAMI Drexel that we are stronger together in making a difference on campus. Some other things that we do are we provide specialized resources for our members on and off campus for them to get the support that they need. So that's what we do, first of all.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And kind of like you mentioned, and for people who are watching who don't know, because of COVID preparations to get back on campus, the Drexel usual 10-week term has been cut short. So we are now operating on a 9-week term this winter. First time in forever, I think. And so it's been particularly stressful for people. So, what are your personal recommendations or resources your organization has to help combat this kind of stress, or recommendations just to take a breath and how to get into finals week and prepare for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, something that you can do is come out and join NAMI for a general body meeting or an event and really leverage that support system within NAMI to facilitate those conversations. And we really reach out to members and encourage them to reach out to other people so people do not feel alone. So, self care is such an expansive term. And I think a misconception about self care is that people are like, oh, bubble baths and um, face masks and things like that. And that is not, of course, it can manifest in that way, but it can take various different forms because it's different for every person. It's really something that you have to enjoy and recharges you to prevent burnout. So, just some things that we recommend is really leveraging those community and natural supports, such as family and friends, and as a source of strength and just to make you laugh or things like that. That's always super helpful. Take breaks, do something you love, put away devices because Zoom burnout is so real in this day and age. And then maybe even do something active, such as going on a walk or exercising.
Yes, definitely. And I know the ability to focus and kind of hone back in on your own mental health is especially hard being at home all of these months. Some people and Drexel students have been online for an entire year now, which is totally insane. So I know we're all looking forward to that 1 week break we get between terms. So, what is your favorite way to rehone yourself and self care?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I really love to paint. And so Even though I'm not the best at it, I still just enjoy it and it lets me get my thoughts out there. I love journaling. Just being able to process through your emotions and see it on a piece of paper and be like, okay, how was I feeling in this moment? How am I feeling now? Spending time with friends and family. I will just pick up the phone and call a friend or my mom or my sister, and they really give me the strength to continue and work towards my goals.
That's awesome. And so, finally, in a little more serious topic, if you see someone struggling or you're struggling yourself, what are the best steps to take to get back to that sound, mental, healthy place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, just reaching out. If you see someone struggling, say something. We need more kindness in the world and compassion, especially during these times. And so just reach out. That is a really good first step. Helping your friend evaluate what their problems are, and finding resources. Drexel has amazing resources. We have the Drexel Counseling Center, which is completely free for college students that go to Drexel. So something that I personally recommend to people is utilizing Psychology Today. And so you can put in your insurance, you can put in your zip code, you can put in your presenting problems, you can put in what gender you prefer your clinician to be. So many different things to get you the support you need, and it will filter it for you. And then you can go through the top recommended ones to get the support you need.
That's amazing. And yeah, I like how you said kindness and compassion can go such a long way, especially in today's world. And so we will definitely be linking everything below to Drexel's Counseling Center should anyone need it or just need someone to talk to. And yes, socialization, even things like this, just talking to someone, meeting someone new, is definitely taken for granted. And I know we all want to get back into that since we've been in this virtual setting for so long. Thank you so much for coming, Erin. If our viewers want to get involved, if they're Drexel students, where should they go?
Oh my goodness. So please go on Dragon Link and join our organization. We would love to see you and have you join our community. Also, please follow us on Instagram at Nami Dragons. We are doing so many amazing things on that page, and there's additional resources and ways that you can get involved. And just come out to a meeting or two. We would love to see you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. That's all I have for you today, Dragons. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at inside_ambition to stay up to date with us. See you next week.
Hi, I'm Lizzy Friedman, this is Inside Ambition, and you're on 34th and Art, the place where we talk all things arts and entertainment in and around Drexel University. This week we're taking a look at Drexel's Robert and Penny Fox historic costume collection. Tucked away in the very back of the Urban Center is an actual museum. If you're lucky enough to know your way around the jigsaw puzzle that is the Urban Center, or if you're just so lost that you just happen to stumble across it, it's there. Specifically, it's a costume and fabric museum. Classic collections include Suit Yourself, 75 Years of Powerful Style, which showcase the evolution of women's business wear, and A Philadelphia Story, 25 Years of Nicole Miller, exhibiting the designer's work and philanthropy within our city. While not currently open to the public because of the pandemic, the new and first ever online exhibit, The Clothes We Wore and the Stories They Tell, will highlight fabric and costume and clothes from 2020. While I spent the last year in my favorite pair of sweatpants, avoiding homework and other human beings, this collection highlights all different kinds of clothes that people wore in 2020. Most of them on loan actually by Drexel students. You guys let me know in the comments down below what your staple piece of clothing in 2020 was. I'm gonna assume it's a lot of sweats. Today we're meeting with Monica Stevens-Smith, the collections manager at Fox Historic Costume Collection. Thanks so much for joining us today, Monica.
Hi, great to be here.
Awesome. So jumping right into it, what inspired this collection?
So the new exhibit is an idea that came to the curator, Claire Soro, and our archivist, Michael Shepard, who have been working on gathering information and putting out the call about 2020 items of clothing that are meaningful or significant to some way to members of the Drexel community at Westphal College of Media Arts and Design, as well as the wider Drexel community. The idea came about when we had to close up last year because of the pandemic, and the gallery that we usually put on 2 shows a year in was closed down because of that. So we wanted to find a way to meaningfully reach out to the community and to show that we're still here, we're still working behind the scenes and thinking about ways that we can take the content digitally. So it was basically a way to kind of end the year of 2020 and talking about, on Instagram, I've been doing donations that we received in 2020, things kind of sharing what we were still getting while things were shut down. And then just wanting to reach out and just have a way to feel the sense of community at Drexel and to show objects and things and share little bits of people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And this is the first online exhibit for the Fox collection, right?
Technically, yes, the fully online exhibition. We do have an exhibition that's up with the Google Arts and Culture Project, but that's with Google.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you guys kind of had a lull in projects and things going on, and I think this is a really great way to kind of tie in, what's been happening with kind of engaging with the arts that we've all kind of seen less and less of in these troubling times, as they call them. So I think it's a really great intersection of those two. What would you say your defining piece of 2020 clothing would be, do you think?
Well, I was thinking about it, and I have the old clothing, sort of the shabby version, and then I have the new version of something that's kind of an aspirational item. I tend to get a lot of slippers and pajamas from my mom and bathrobes for my mom, like every Christmas. And, prior to the pandemic, I was like, why do I need, 4 pairs of, slippers or 4 robes? But they've actually come in handy over the pandemic, as slippers being worn around the house is a constant. So I've rotated through and worn out a few pairs of the slippers. So I've got all those comfortable clothes that I've been wearing a lot. But then I recently purchased a raincoat from this company, and it was this nice little lightweight raincoat that had some really interesting features on it. And I got it in the mail, and I was really excited about it because it was aspirational in the sense that I love to travel, and we have not been able to travel over this time. And I bought the coat with this future hope of being able to take it to Europe or somewhere in America and to wear it during maybe a rainy spring season or a rainy fall season somewhere. And just to kind of have this thing sitting in my closet that I'm not wearing right now, but someday I will.
Right. Yeah. I feel that with a lot of my clothes. I'm like, oh, I just want to wear this, but I don't want to wear it in my house right now. It's like every time I go out to go get groceries or do anything, it's like, it's an event. You got to dress up.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think we don't often think about the stories that our clothing tells, tell, unless we're kind of in the fashion industry or doing things like what you're doing. So I think it's really beneficial for more people to kind of think about how clothes really impact our day-to-day lives and what they tell, the stories, and how they kind of have our own personalities in them. So I think that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. What pieces are you most excited to exhibit in the collection?
Well, I was looking over the list, and there's a lot of different stories being told. Of course, the one that comes immediately to everyone's mind is the mask. We have our first donation of a mask came at the end of last year. One of the staff members at Drexel was getting rid of her original mask that she sort of kind of hand stitched together with one of those early manuals of, here's the instructions on how to make a mask if you're not great at sewing. So she got rid of these ones and gave them to us. And, she made them out of old sheets that she had. And it was just an interesting story. So you have those masks that people were making in the beginning. And the Westphal community is really creative community. And one of the groups of masks that I'm really excited about is this set made by Roberta Gruber, who was previously a fashion design teacher or department head in Westphal. and she made masks that were very creative and had sort of the color of the emoji faces, or a lipstick that are just really beautifully made, and just a really creative and fun way to kind of make that original masking, when it was a little bit unsettling for everyone to start wearing, to make it a little bit more lighthearted. So that's something I'm really excited about. But we also have children's pajamas that show the rate of growth from this time period. When this started, people were thinking maybe 3 months or 6, but it's been over a year now. And it's looking like it's going to continue a little bit longer because things are still uncertain. So, there's a dress that was worn for a birthday occasion, and she couldn't travel. So her and her partner watched YouTube videos and ate, Greek food, sorry. And they watched YouTube videos of Greece. And so these creative ways to kind of get outside of our houses and sort of go do things that we previously loved. And of course, there's things like garden gloves, because a lot of people started to pick up hobbies like gardening, which I actually did as well. So these just little ways of seeing things that will tell us the stories about what we were doing.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And are most or like a lot of the pieces from Drexel students and faculty members?
So I would say it's a pretty even mix between faculty, staff, and students.
Oh, nice. So like in total, like all of it is from Drexel people in general.
Yeah, so we put the call out, and it was a call specifically for the Drexel community.
Oh.
So it was basically anyone who was, working here, or alumni, students, to put it in. And of course, we had to cap it. And we thought 20 items for 2020 was going to be a good round number to show online, because it's online. You don't want to have tons and tons and tons of pages. And part of that too is the exhaustion, the screen exhaustion that we're all feeling with seeing things and just being at our computers and on our phones constantly.
Right. Well, that's so interesting that it's all fully Drexel. I think that also lends itself to like the community aspect of all of this too, and really gives a nice like tight-knit little community of Drexel people and their clothes and what we've all done. And even though we're all very separate right now, at least this collection can kind of bring us together in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And kind of one final question: how can we engage with this exhibit? Like, how can we view it online?
So once it's online, it will, I don't have the actual website yet, but it will be posted on the Instagram account, which is at Fox_historic_costume, Fox Historic Costume. I'm going to post it there, and it will be posted at our Facebook page. And that is probably the most convenient way to look for it. It will probably go out in a newsletter throughout the school, but I would say social media is probably going to be the most easily accessible. And the Westphal Instagram account as well. We'll be sharing it.
Okay, gotcha. We'll definitely make sure all of that information is accessible to all of our viewers, that they know how to find this as well. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for joining us today on 34th and Art and talking a little bit about this exhibit. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see everything that you guys do with the collection and what else we have in store.
Yeah, it was great to be here, and it'll be coming mid-March, so we'll be looking for it then.
The Clothes We Wore and the Stories They Tell opens virtually in March. Find all the latest information on it at Fox_historic_costume on Instagram. Thanks for sticking around, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at inside_ambition, and subscribe to us on YouTube for all the latest. I'll see you right here at the same address next week. Bye!
Hey
Dragons, it's Paige here with your weekly Thunder Index, where we discuss all things science, storms, stars, and sustainability. Per usual, let's head into this next week of weather. Spring is just around the corner, Dragons. Believe it or not, it is March again. And with less than 20 days until spring, the temperatures are starting to warm up and the rain is starting to come down. This upcoming week, we have a high of 52 degrees and a low of 36 degrees. Hopefully, we will start to see some of those huge snow mounds melt. Now moving up in the sky and into the stars, let's recap on this last week of astrology and what it means for you. Early Saturday, a full moon occurred in Virgo, also known as the snow moon. Hopefully you didn't miss this one, as it was a pretty beautiful sight. The full moon is a time of culmination and the promise of fulfillment. It is a pretty emotional time. Now, what does being emotional mean to you? For me at least, it means cracking open a pint of Ben & Jerry's Half-Baked. This full moon has been urging us to strike a balance between work and service, practicality and impracticality, criticism and acceptance. How am I supposed to balance work and service on top of all of these exams coming up? These new feelings and revelations are emotional ones for sure. It's time to express ourselves and let things out of our system. You may be wondering what this even means for you, and over the next 2 weeks, we will discover that. For now, we can't sit on our feelings. We need to express them, or it may backfire on you in the future. This is an eyes wide open time for our work, health, habits, and routines. We are very likely to receive strong messages from our intuition. Use this emotional time to express and understand your feelings. Trust your gut and open your mind. Now heading back down to earth and onto Drexel's campus, let's take a look at our COVID numbers. As of February 21st, the university only has 24 positive cases out of the 3,400 people that are getting tested. But that makes 6 more people with a positive diagnosis since we last reported. We are still under the 1% of the population testing positive, so let's keep it that way. Now remember, if you start to feel sick, have a fever, have trouble breathing, or develop a cough, be sure to call the Student Health Service Center. The number is 215-220-4700. Now, Dragons, while we are here on Earth, let's talk about how we can be more sustainable and save our planet. This week marks the second installment of our 3-part sustainability series with Drexel's undergraduate student government. This week, USGA will tell us some awesome ways on how we can keep our planet green right here in Philadelphia. Take it away, USGA.
Hi everyone, we are USGA's Sustainability Subcommittee, and we are here once again on Inside Ambition. Today we are going to tell you about some pretty exciting eco-friendly opportunities coming up in the Philadelphia area that you can get involved with. Whether you're looking for educational opportunities in which you can learn from experts in the environmental discipline, or whether you're looking to get your hands dirty volunteering, you came to the right place. Check out these cool sustainability related opportunities happening right in the Philadelphia area throughout these coming weeks.
First, the Pennsylvania Green Gov Council and Penn State University are partnering up to provide the public for a sustainability-based web series. These are a monthly webinar series that discuss various sustainability topics. If you are interested in joining the conversation about sustainable initiatives such as green buildings, climate action plans, solar electricity, and more, join the series today. All you have to do is fill out the survey in the description and select which events you would like to attend. The rest will be sent to your email. You can find more information by looking up Green Gov News on Pennsylvania's government website.
Next, are you looking to learn more about nature-based solutions and implementation of policies to mitigate climate change? Join the Case for Nature-Based Solutions, a panel hosted by UPenn's Kleinman Center for Energy Policy, for an interesting discussion on March 25th at noon. With a focus on England, the Netherlands, and the United States, this panel will explore a range of topics, from funding and policy considerations to socioeconomic and environmental impacts, as well as challenges for implementation. Check the link in the description to register today.
Lastly, let's do our part to keep Philadelphia beautiful. A great part of the Drexel experience is being so close to the walkways along the Schuylkill River. To make sure that the river stays clean, you can help volunteer with the Schuylkill Action Network to help clean up litter along the banks and beautify the area. To keep our roads and public areas clean, the City of Philadelphia organized the Philadelphia More Beautiful Committee to organize community cleanups. Anyone can volunteer. You and your friends can also be a part of Pennsylvania's Adopt a Street program and regularly clean up a street near you. You can also check in with Drexel's own Sierra Club to see if they are organizing any local cleanups.
And that's a wrap, folks. Be sure to check out these cool opportunities where you can learn and get in action. Whether you're in the Philadelphia area or whether you're in a different part of the globe, remember, a sustainable lifestyle can happen from anywhere. You can still tune in to the University of Pennsylvania's The Case for Nature-Based Solutions panel or go to a community cleanup from where you are. Back to you, Paige.
Thank you so much, USGA. Let's make it our goal to try and incorporate some of those green tips into our everyday lives. And of course, while we're on the topic of green, let's take a look at my plant of the week. This week's plant is a English ivy. Chances are you have already seen this beautiful vine. It can be used as ground cover outside or as a houseplant. Since it is a vine, it can be trained to follow certain shapes and add that little touch of elegance that designers are looking for. They are also excellent for removing harmful chemicals from your home, such as leftover fumes that linger from cleaning supplies. Luckily for you, the ivy is relatively easy to maintain. It can grow in full shade or full sun, and with proper care, it can last for several years. When this plant is happy in its environment, it can grow like a weed. And that is all of the science, storms, stars, and sustainability that I have for you this week. It's always thundering in Philadelphia, Dragons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Inside Look, an Inside Ambition segment where we take a deep dive into something happening here at Drexel. I'm Alexandra George. Happy first day of March! You know, the month that goes in like a lion and out like a lamb. Or if you're a vegetarian like me, in like a leek and out like a legume. March is arguably the most important month of the year. It is National Music in Our Schools Month, National Ladder Safety Month, and National Bleeding Disorders Month. When you add that all up, it sounds like a repainting of the band room ceiling gone bad. Hashtag mute Larry's trombone. Hashtag fix the ladder. Hashtag fix the custodian. A friendly reminder to support your local custodians. Most famously, March is Women's History Month. Drexel, although named after and run by a white man, has recently been honoring women in its own way. Now let's take an inside look. First, in today's segment, we're going to talk about the background of Women's History Month and women's contribution in business. Second, we'll look at some female-run startups right here in Philly. And third, we'll tell you all about Drexel's own small business program, which gave loans to 2 companies run by women of color this year. Up until and throughout the 1970s, schools and the general public had effectively no knowledge or discussion about women's history. It took an education task force in Sonoma County, California, to propose the idea of a Women's History Week back in 1978. Schools and communities across the country adored the idea, and over 100 women in the community traveled the U.S. to teach and give presentations. The week concluded with a commemorative parade and an essay contest on the topic of a real woman, to which hundreds of students submitted entries. Believe it or not, this essay topic was originally pitched as Real Housewives of New Jersey. Feminism is always ahead of its time. Inspired by the success of Sonoma County's efforts, the Women's History Institute began their own local celebrations in 1979. They then began lobbying the federal government to recognize a National Women's History Week. The Institute's efforts paid off in 1980 when President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring Women's History Week as the week of March 8th. By 1987, the National Women's History Project had successfully petitioned Congress to extend the holiday to the full month of March, thus creating Women's History Month as we know it today. And in honor of said month, today we're going to look at women's achievements in business. Last year, women made enormous strides as entrepreneurs and company leaders. As of December 2020, 40% of businesses in this country are owned by women. That's 12.3 million businesses. Moreover, women of color were the leaders of 64% of all new female-owned businesses established last year. Not to mention, women own 36% of small businesses worldwide. Plus, businesses run by women with diverse backgrounds and causes are thriving here in Philadelphia. One such business is Angel Energy, an apparel company that seeks to bring awareness to domestic violence and its survivors. many of whom are children. CEO Sarah Ripley, herself a survivor of domestic violence, donates 25% of the company's proceeds to a different domestic violence charity every single month. Another successful Philly women-run startup is Buddha Babe, a design studio that creates accessories for babies and toddlers, as well as home decor. They also offer group sewing classes, private kids parties, and community events. Pre-COVID, of course. Plus, they choose to sustainably source textiles only from natural and organic cotton. What's not to love about that? CEO Tina Dixon Spence was inspired to use high-quality materials after noticing that her newborn son would sometimes get rashes from the clothes she would buy him. Apparently, she even named her startup after him because she says he looked like a laughing Buddha when he laughed as a baby. My mom says I looked like a wrinkled raisin when I laughed, but shriveled sweetheart just doesn't have the same ring to it. Since 2017, Drexel has partnered with two West Philly organizations, the Corridor Collaborative and the Financial Services Institution, to run the Be Smart Small Business Development Program. This program offers coaching and funding opportunities to small businesses here in Philadelphia. Wow, would you look at that? Drexel's being civically engaged for once. The 2021 program culminated on January 14th with a bang, committing over $25,000 in loans to small businesses owned by women of color. Although often neglected, small businesses create 1.5 million jobs annually. This year, 10 local entrepreneurs were accepted into the program, 5 of which graduated with a robust business plan along with other tools for success. Andre Dworshin could never. Topics taught through the Be Smart program include business planning, digital marketing, accounting, and financial literacy. The program concludes with a pitch competition during which the entrepreneurs share their business proposals, hoping to attain a minimum of a $10,000 loan. If my student loans are any indicator, that interest rate is gonna be steep. Regardless, sign me up for that Dragon Tank production deal. After the competition, faculty within the Drexel School of Entrepreneurship offered follow-up coaching to all the startups as they continued to develop and expand. This year, 2 businesses obtained loans from the West Philly Financial Services Institution and Entrepreneur Works. The first business, Advocate for Me, is a Black-owned childcare center that serves special needs children. They offer inclusive respite care and an after-school program. Aftercare. When I first discovered my love for older men. Advocate for Me aims to support working guardians who struggle to find a balance between their professional life and providing care to their children. The company also seeks to provide resources, advocacy, and training to special needs families. Founder and CEO LaVon McMillan has a child with special needs herself, and she's been an educator for over 13 years. She also wrote a book from a child's point of view about the need for inclusion in early childhood intervention strategies called What About Me? Coincidentally, that's also the title of the poem Penn's Quaker penned about me after he saw Mario and I getting cozy under the stairs in main building. Hashtag sorry not sorry. Hashtag sowing my wild oats. Hashtag Quakers are for oats. The second business that obtained a loan upon the conclusion of the Be Smart program was Flourish Bake Shop. It's an Asian American and Pacific Islander-owned bakery offering custom baked goods to the Philadelphia community. The company has committed to helping those struggling with unemployment, at all the 2020 graduates, to become pastry chefs, creating a multitude of job opportunities here in West Philly. Co-founders Cynthia Sung and Ben Applegate especially seek out those who have faced troubles such as addiction or incarceration. Citizens Bank and the Merchants Fund also gave both of these companies additional small dollar loans. Again with the loans. During its run in 2019, 89% of the program's participants were women and 93% of the participants were Black. Over the course of 3 years, Be Smart has granted over $132,000 in loans to its startups. That's almost enough to cover the hospital bills of that poor, bloodied custodian, and to pay for extra trombone lessons for Larry. This March, let's make sure that we're acknowledging all women in our conversations about women's history. It is crucial to acknowledge intersectionality when it comes to these issues. Not to mention, Black History Month was literally yesterday, so let's make sure that we're keeping those conversations going. Now we want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite women-owned businesses in Philly? How do you think we can support them during this global pandemic? Did you play an instrument in middle school? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, to stay up to date with all of our content, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and following our Instagram. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.